gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this Thursday evening. I'm assuming you're here to come and ask some questions and hear the answers about our transition up to the Wilnecote School. I am Mrs Samantha Ager. I'm one of the assistant head teachers here, and I have had the overall responsibility for the transition up to the Wilnecote School. So all of the emails that you've been getting, the videos, everything like that, I have been part of sending those out to you. So you can now put a face to the person who's been replying to your emails and making some of the phone calls out to you. And we just wanted to give you this opportunity to be able to ask anything that we may not have percepted that you want to ask us. I have one of my colleagues here with me this evening.
Hiya, I'm Mr Simpson and I'm the assistant head teacher for behaviour and relationships at the Wilnecote School. I've been here now for many, many years, and I must say this is probably one of the strangest transition activities that we've had to do. So it's all going to be a bit of fun. Any questions that you've got, please send them in and we'll try our very, very best to answer them. So let's have fun.
Yeah, do bear with us. We do keep looking down. We've got a screen here. The questions are being fielded to us. So thank you so much to the people that have sent in questions already since I asked for this on Monday. If you do have any more questions or we don't answer something that you think somebody else will have asked, just put a comment in the comment section below the video and they will be sent through to us to read out and answer for you. I'm sure everything you will ask will be appropriate to Year 6 transition, but we are only going to answer questions that relate to Year 6 students starting with us in September. If it's a wider school issue or anything like that, we'd encourage you to email the school, or you can drop it in the comments and we'll answer those at a later time. But for tonight, we want to focus on Year 6 coming up in September to join us. So we'll kick off with our first question. My child is starting with you in September and she will be the only one from her school and won't know anyone. They are not the most confident. Is there anything you can do to get them mixing? I don't want her on her own for break and lunch. Brilliant, brilliant question. Can I start by saying that there are 20 students who are joining us in September who will be the only child from their school. So the 20 other young boys and girls are going to be in exactly the same situation, and right from that first day they're going to be put into their class groups, so they will be with people that they're going to spend the rest of year 7 with for the majority of their lessons. The very first activity planned for them once we've got them in and registered is to do some ice-breaking activities and getting to know you. So right from the start we'll be helping them to mix. When it gets to break and lunchtime, there will be lots of senior leaders around, as well as the dinner staff and other members of support staff, so that any child we see who might be on their own, unsure where to go, anything like that, we will help to encourage them to sit with the group and to start building those friendships. All of the children are coming from smaller schools than the Wilnecote School. There's 195 joining us in September in year 7, so there are lots of people who will be looking to make new friends and to move forward. So although it will be a worry, I promise by the end of that first week, your children will be coming home saying, oh, I've made friends with so-and-so, she went to this school, he went to that school, and it will be a forgotten concern by the end of that first week.
And I think the most important thing that we need to remember there, because they're going to spend so much time with just year 7, those friendships obviously be made much, much quicker, and you've got nothing to worry about in terms of that. But like Mrs just said, we've got so much of the pastoral team, members of SLT are going to be in and around so much in the first couple of weeks that, you know, if a student is struggling, we'll obviously make sure that they've got somebody to go and speak to, and we'll try and, you know, make some friendships between different children. So please do not worry about that. Next question. Will I have a locker somewhere to put my coat and bag, or do I need to carry them around all day? Real good question, and this is a question which all of our students ask at the beginning of every academic year. Now, under the current circumstances with COVID and the coronavirus, at the start of September, it's highly unlikely that the lockers will be available. But if and when we get through this, and hopefully that will be fairly soon and possibly in January, that when the school opens up as normal and we're operating as a normal school, all students have the opportunity to hire a locker, and there's different locations around the school where you can put in your jacket, your coat, your bags or whatever, but there will definitely be an opportunity to have a locker at some point during your Wilnecote career.
And the one thing that I'll add to that is the majority of our students choose not to have one. There's not a lot of opportunities in the school day to go and use them, and some students find it's more of a hassle to try and get to their locker. They prefer to just to carry their things around for them for that day. But as and when we're able to issue lockers again, we'll speak to all of the Year 7s about that, and then it becomes down to personal choice.
But one thing to remember there, and this is something that I did when I was younger, that when you first start high school, you think, I've got to carry every book with me.
Yeah.
Now, one job of ours as teachers is to make sure that students get organised, and we make sure they understand their timetable, they know what subjects they've got the next day. So we'll make sure that they only need 3 or 4 books in their bag, possibly a PE kit, and their jacket, which you can always carry anyway. So it's not a major problem.
And again, with COVID-19, there's this whole thing about not being able to have contact with each other's belongings. So your child is going to be forced even sooner than usual to take that responsibility for their own things. We're not going to be able to collect all their books in and store them all safely for them. They're going to need to look after them, keep them in a certain space. So by the time it comes to having lockers, they'll already be in one routine. They might not want to change one. But as I say, once that isn't an option, we'll speak to all of Year 7 about it then.
Of course. We have another question. How will I find my way round from lesson to lesson? So obviously we're coming from probably quite small schools to a big school, and there's loads of little strategies that we do. So on those induction days in September, we will spend a lot of time with students to try and make them familiarise with the different locations within school. In the first couple of weeks when we come into school and when it's very busy in the corridors, we'll make sure there's loads of members of staff on the corridors waiting to point students in the right direction. There's also signage all the way around the school to indicate which rooms to go to, etc., etc. But the key thing for new Year 7 students is if you get lost or you're a little bit late, it's not a major problem. It's all a bit of a learning curve, and as long as we get there and we start to get in the right routines as quickly as we can, it's nothing to worry about.
I think most of our students have always commented we follow a 2-week timetable, and by the end of that second week they go in very confident into the second run of week 1, feeling that they've explored all parts of the school. Yeah. So it takes up to 2 weeks, but as staff we're very lenient with understanding that they get lost. And the good thing is they move in class groups, so they tend to all move together. It's very rare that you have a Year 7 wandering around on their own lost.
And also all of the students in the older years, our school's very inclusive, yeah, and all of our students help each other. So if there's a Year 7 who's lost or a little bit upset, don't know where to go, I can guarantee that one of our older students will make sure that they're okay, and they'll take them to the most appropriate room, or a member of staff if they're not too sure. So please do not worry about getting lost and not find your way around the school.
Absolutely. Right, next question then. What will they need to bring on their first day? For example, PE kit. Right, first day, we're not going to be running regular lesson timetables. They will need a pen or pencil, something to write with, but that's all they're going to need, and a packed lunch. The canteen will not be open on the first day. It will be open on Thursday, the 3rd of September. So Year 7 start on their own on Wednesday, the 2nd of September. This came out in a letter to everybody today, and they will be asked to arrive at 10:30 on that morning. We will give them a break for lunch, but as I say, it needs to be a packed lunch. And so they need their lunch, something to write with, in full school uniform, and just bags of enthusiasm and energy ready to start their new adventure with us.
Yeah, please do not worry about that first day. And even if the message isn't very clear at the moment, when we see them on that Wednesday, we will tell all of our Year 7 students what they need to bring in the following day. So there's really nothing to worry about. The first week, possibly the second week, will be very much led by us as teachers, and we'll be telling the students what they need to bring in. So as long as they're ready to learn and they're enthusiastic, then they're going to succeed, and they're going to have such a fantastic start to their Wilnecote journey.
And they'll get their timetables on that Wednesday afternoon. So if your son or daughter has PE on the Thursday or Friday, part of our end of the day conversations on that first Year 7 only day is, right, you're going to need your PE kit tomorrow, you're going to need it on Friday. So we'll have those conversations, and as they get used to using that timetable, they'll get used to what days they need to bring it in, and hopefully they'll come home and show you their timetable. It might be a good idea to stick it up on the wall, at fridge or something. They'll have a copy of it in their planners, and very quickly you get into a routine of the timetable.
And an additional thing that we do to support students is during our tutor times, which we will have, is that the member of staff who will be with them they'll be checking their timetables as well. So yes, you can do it at home as parents and making sure that they've got their stuff, but every day they will have some time in with their tutor group as such, and we will go through all of that, so that even if they forget what they've got the next day, that member of staff will be able to make sure that they got the right up-to-date timetable, and that we are ready and prepared for the rest of the week. So it's really not a major problem.
Yeah. We've got a question about PE uniform and wearing leggings for girls. So it does say in the transition handbook that has gone out today that they can wear plain black leggings, but they have to be the sports leggings kind, so they don't, they're not very see-through when they bend or anything like that. But if you have a look at that handbook and have a look in there, it does show you, explain exactly what they can wear. If you haven't had that for any reason, please send us an email to the office email address that you've all had, and we'll respond to you individually.
Excellent. Next question. As the Year 6 children haven't been able to take their SATs this term, upon starting at Wilnecote, will you be testing them to see what academic abilities they have, and how do we then sort out the groups? Okay, it's a fantastic question, and unfortunately, your son or daughter haven't been able to sit their SATs. Either so, when they was to come up in September, we always do some baseline tests, certainly in English and maths. Obviously, we're probably going to have to approach that slightly different come September, and science will probably be doing the same. But as a result of how they get on in the baseline tests, certainly in English and maths, we will then decide which groups is most suited for them based upon their ability. But that doesn't mean that they're going to stick in that group for the rest of this year. There's different opportunities throughout the year where, if a student's exceeding and they need a little bit more challenge, there might be an upper group. But likewise, if they're struggling and might need a little bit more support, then we also do movement downwards. So let's say your son or daughter comes in, doesn't do a great job of their baseline test. That doesn't mean that they're going to be stuck in a lower set if they feel they should be higher up. It's all about, if they come into school and work their best, they will work their way up through the sets. So it's not a major problem in terms of that they've missed them.
I think it's important to point out that it is only for English and maths. The rest of their lessons will be mixed ability. So languages, PE, even science most of the time stays mixed ability. So what we've done, we have spoken to all of the primary schools, we've spoken to the Year 6 teachers, and we've got some of their advice on what kind of a learner your child is, how did they expect them to do in their SATs, were they expected this level or this level. So rather than trying to put them in higher, middle, foundation, anything like that, we've tried to mix the ability, so there will be some high achievers, some lower achievers, and some in the middle in every single class. We're going with a very individual learning approach in our school, and it means that we have that ability to have mixed ability classes, and we've actually found that it works really, really well for the cohorts that we've got already. So we're excited for your children to come in and see that, and they've been in mixed ability classes all through primary. It is only English and maths where we tend to set.
A question which I got asked actually the other day, with these baseline tests, which we will do, it's not going to be in the first couple of days. We'll obviously let the Year 7s settle in before we put that, a little bit of pressure on them just to go through that test. But once again, it's not the be-all and end-all. It doesn't really matter what you get in that. As long as we apply ourselves in lessons and work hard, it doesn't matter. It's about starting your secondary school journey now, and that's obviously going to happen in September. The next question, it fits in quite nicely with this. What are the plans to address the missing 4 months in the classroom? So obviously, it's been very strange for all of us, us as teachers. We've got families and our children as well. And obviously there is going to be a little bit of a gap. But what I can reassure you, and a message from all of our teachers, is we will work very hard with all our students. And it's not just our Year 7 students. It's going to be in all year groups where we're going to have to, possibly do some intervention, do some extra work, recap certain things. We're all prepared to do that as teachers. It might mean we might have to set some additional homework or some after-school clubs potentially, but if we see any gaps, we will make sure that we try our very best to address them.
And people are coming from such a range. There are some children that have been in school all through lockdown because their parents are key workers and they've needed to keep coming to school. Their level of education has been very different to some of the virtual schooling that some of our older students have been doing here compared to some of the home learning that different primary schools will have set. Just having conversations with my own friends who are parents of children in different schools to my own, the way we've had home learning sent home for my primary age children is very different to how other schools have done it. So we're very aware that everybody's coming from a different angle. Some people have done lots of homeschooling, some people have done none, some people have had no access to technology, some people have got lots of access. So we're aware that everybody's coming from a different angle, not just in Year 7, but right across our age range. And one of the things that we'll be focusing on our inset day at the start of September is how our curriculum looks, certainly from September to half term, to help get those learners back into the process of learning, to start addressing what gaps there are. And as Mr. Simpson said, does anybody need any extra support, some intervention? And we go from there. Until we've got everybody back, we can't give you a full picture because we don't know what that picture is right now. Another one, a bit more specialist, but what provisions are there for music lessons in school time? So Year 7 do have actual music lessons and the rooms are well equipped, but they won't be using the music rooms initially. We do have lots of after school lessons for specific instruments as well. We have music teachers come in and work with people on one-to-one lesson basis. The music teachers in school, so Mr. Hayden mainly, will talk to all of Year 7 students about what is available. He'll find out what people used to play in primary school. So if your son or daughter is, a saxophone player, he will look at what we can offer for saxophone lessons moving forward. If they've always come through school, there is provision, and the music department will work with the children who are interested, and information comes home to you from September about that.
Okay. Brilliant. Next question. Where will Year 7 be meeting on their first day? I believe that in the letter which you were sent home earlier today, that it gave you some instructions of where to go. Yeah. So on the very first day, which is on the Wednesday, all Year 7 students are going to be coming through the main school gate. And when they come through there will be many members of staff, SLT, the pastoral team. Yeah, we'll both be there. And there'll be loads of teachers ready to greet them. If it's not raining, and fingers crossed that it's not, we will get all the students onto the bottom tennis courts, and we will then put them into their class, and then we'll walk them into their classrooms. Yeah. But from then on in, they will still be using the front gate, but the journey up is going to be slightly different.
Yeah, so if you have a look at this video that we're playing you right now, you're coming through the main gate. Year 7 need to use that main gate every day until further notice. Even if you live on Hockley Road, you need to be using that gate until further notice. Hopefully you won't run up there as fast as this video goes, but they'll go straight up. On the first day, that's where we'll be waiting to show them where to go, which will be off to my left, probably your right. And then they'll go up these steps here, which, if you know Wilnock at school, leads into the main reception if you keep going. But we're going to go in this very first door on the right hand side that is not for public access. That'll be for students only. It will be open. They'll go in the door and take the first left, which takes them up this set of stairs. For anybody who knows this school, this takes us up to what is now the maths corridor. And down this corridor is a range of classrooms. All have numbers on the door, so we will tell each class which door they're going to be going into. But all of Year 7 will be in a bubble in this part of the school for the first part of the school year. So until government's guidance tells us we can move out of bubbles, this is where Year 7 lessons will have year 7 lessons will be, and teachers will come to them rather than the students moving around in the first instance. There's lots of classrooms up there, and we'll tell them which one to go to every single day. That's where they'll come, and then when they leave, they'll carry on in the direction that the camera is moving. They'll go down the stairs, which will take them to the other end of the corridor, and then they'll be able to leave again. But that's going to be the same for them every single day. The only thing that will be different on that Wednesday is that they stop before those steps, and we will direct them where to go, which is on the other side.
Excellent. Well done, miss.
Thanks.
Okay, next question. Where are we now? Okay. When will students be able to meet their form tutor? This is a fantastic question. Obviously, under the current circumstances and the government guidance, that we've got to stay in bubbles. So at the moment, they're not going to be able to meet their actual form tutor, because you would have been told which house that your son or daughter is in. And there's obviously 3 houses at the Wilnicott School. We've got Peel, Grazier and McGregor. And within each house, we have vertical tutoring groups. And I'm going to be completely honest, since I've been at this school, the vertical tutoring has been an enormous success, and probably a reason why we're such an inclusive school and why so many people want to come and join us here. But until we are told otherwise, and we hope that sooner rather than later, your son or daughter won't be able to meet their actual form tutor. But as I said a little previously, they will have a tutor time session, but that will be just with a classroom teacher who would be a tutor at that time normally, but they will just be there to deliver a different session. But in terms of meeting their actual vertical tutor, then we don't know at the moment, but as soon as we are able to do that, we will launch that. We'll make a big deal of it, and we'll make sure the year 7s are really excited about going into a tutor group with 3 or 4 different students from each year group, so they're going to be able to mix and interact straight away with people across the board and across the different years in school.
And with our year 7s being such a full year group, like I said, 195, there are at least 7 year 7s per form group when we get to that point. And I know it's a question that other people have asked me when I've been having some telephone calls. So if I've got an older brother or sister and they're in the same house, will they be in the same form? No, they won't. So if you've got 2 children, one in year 7, one in year 9, they will both be in, let's say, Grazier, but they won't be in CG1 together. One will be in CG1 and the other one could be in any other of the other 8 forms. So we'll see where the older sibling is and place the others accordingly. But yeah, and we really want and love the vertical tutoring system, and as soon as we can have it back, we will. But we felt that it didn't have much value for your children or for the tutors to meet somebody who they might not come across again until at least after October half term, possibly longer. So as Mr. Simpson said, when we can, we will make a big deal of it. It's just not the right time at the moment. Next question that's come in: do you know if swimming is timetabled for year 7? Following all of the guidance that has come from the government, we are unable to use the swimming pool for swimming lessons in PE at the moment. It is a year 7 activity within the PE curriculum, but it certainly will not be timetabled before Christmas. As and when it can happen, once again, we will communicate with your children through school and you probably through parent mail to say this is when swimming is coming up for your children. So it can't happen before Christmas, but we'll keep you updated as to when it can.
Okay, we've had a few questions asking about mobile phones, and I think this is probably a good time to just to remind you. Hopefully, you've read this in the different information that you've got about our rules around mobile phones. A few years ago, we decided as a school that we would between 8:30 and the last lesson of the day 2:40 that mobile phones were completely banned. They're not allowed to be seen and they need to be switched off. And we did this for numerous reasons. One of them being is, one, we don't want to distract people's learnings or others people's learnings. And then secondly, when it comes to social time at break and lunch, that rather than standing there or sitting there looking at a phone, it will encourage children to actually talk to each other, and we have had a huge success with this. At first we thought we might have a little bit of kickback, but I think all of our students and even our current parents would agree that it's been a massive success. So it's quite simple. When first lesson starts until the bell at the end of the day, mobile phones shouldn't be seen. if for any reason we was to see a mobile phone, if a student was on it, or if we found out that there was messaging somebody else in school, what would happen is the phone would get confiscated, it gets put into a safe, and the student would get given an hour's detention, and the phone can get picked up at the end of the school day, but not until 4 o'clock, and it has to be picked up by a parent or a carer of that student. So you could say that those rules are pretty strict, but it's something that's had a massive impact, and we don't have many detentions given for mobile phones, and it's been a huge success. If you've got if you've got any concerns that you want to get in touch with your son or daughter while at school, you just phone to reception and we'll make sure that somebody gives that message to them. So you haven't got to worry about getting in touch with your son and daughter. We'll make sure that you can always contact them.
Yeah,
Miss.
no, that's okay. I was just going to say, I think Year 10 have really proved to us how well they've adapted to this rule. So Year 10 have had a break out of school due to lockdown. They started coming back in from the 15th of June, and I must admit that one of the fears was we'd have to work really hard to remind them about the phone rule. It hasn't happened. They've walked in with their phones, they've had their phones on them quite clearly, but they've not been an issue in the time that we've had them back in school since lockdown. We've not had to have a heavy reminder. It's so part of their daily school life. So yes, it might feel alien for some children, and as parents you want to contact them, but if you think about them in primary school, you wouldn't contact them using a mobile phone. In primary school you'd ring reception. We ask exactly the same thing, and it does work really well. Yeah, and about things that they bring to school, another question has been, does my child need a water bottle? So again, I know a lot of primaries have branded water bottles that they ask you to keep in school. We don't have that rule here. They can bring a water bottle to school. We would usually have access to the water fountains. That's not possible at the moment because of contact. So yes, bring a water bottle. There is water available in the canteen to purchase as well. They can bring a named bottle if they want. They can bring a disposable water bottle and buy a new one every day. That's completely up to them. What they can't bring is pop. So fizzy pop, cans of pop, things like that.
Energy drinks. Yeah,
energy drinks. I mean, we've got flavoured drinks in the canteen. They can bring, like, lemon squash, orange squash kind of thing, but it can't be the fizzy drinks and things like that. So water is best, as we all know. And so that's it's not a requirement, but it would be desirable, especially with them having limited movement now that they are going to be in these bubbles. They're going to have less opportunity to go and grab a drink from the fountain as they would before. So I would say tell them to bring a drink of water with them, or whatever they're going to have with their lunch. But there is information on that in the handbook and on the school website as well.
And students can drink water in lessons. We don't encourage any other drinks, but if a student is desperate for a drink and they have got a water bottle on them or whatever they've got in their bag, if they put their hand up and ask the teacher, it's not a problem. They can have a quick drink of their water. So obviously we do encourage you to bring that into school.
And this has led really nicely to what looks like a little list of lunchtime questions. To be fair, I would be worrying about when I'm going to eat and things as well. You'll hear me moaning like, I haven't had my lunch yet, but clearly I eat enough. So when do they get their thumbprint scanned so that they can pay for things? That is planned in for their very first day on the 2nd of September. If you have returned all of your data forms and all the permissions, we will be doing those throughout the day with them, socially distanced, on that very first 2nd of September. That's why we're asking you to bring a packed lunch on the first day, and the canteen will be open, albeit with a reduced menu, on Thursday the 3rd of September, but we'll have all of that done for you on the 2nd. If you haven't got your data forms in yet, or you don't even know what I'm talking about, please email the office email address and I'll respond to you individually.
Okay, the next question is still to do with lunchtime. How do we set up an account to put money onto it for dinners? So this is all used with parent pay, and a lot of our feeder schools in terms of our primary schools already have this in place. So if you've already got an account at primary school and your son and daughter are coming up now, it just carries on. So you just use it in the same way. You just put X amount of money on, which then will allow your son or daughter to purchase something from the canteen. But if this is all new to you in the parent pay, there's all information in your booklets which you would have been provided.
Yeah. So how do we find out about the lunch menu? That is published on the school website. The new one will go live from September. I'm really hoping that they're keeping the enchiladas. That is my favourite that the canteen do. It is.
Cheese on toast for me.
Oh.
Cheese on toast. Okay. Another question. I think we've just answered this one. How do you put money on the fingerprint? So the way that works is as long as the money is on the parent pay, and there's numerous ways that you can do that as a parent or carer, is you know, you can use a bank card and you just upload X amount of money. As soon as that goes, as soon as you uploaded it to the account, it clears straight away. So we have it. This happens quite a lot. You forgot to give your son or daughter a packed lunch in the morning. They go to school. You've realised they've got no money on their account. As long as you get that on just before break or lunch, then they'll be able to use it straight away. So it's really simple process, no problems.
And the really good thing is with the parent pay, it will give you an itemised bill of what your child is having. So let's say you get a reminder that your child's limit is close to zero or has just tipped below zero, and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, I put £5 on yesterday, what on earth have they been having? You can see an itemised list. So they've had 3 waffles at break time and then a full dinner at lunchtime. So that will be then for you to have the conversation about how much they're spending in a day, but you get a really clear breakdown of what they're having each and every day. So that can help you as a parent. I know I would like that as a parent, to see what my child is eating when I'm not in control of giving it to them.
If you need any more information about parent pay, there's going to be some letters going out with a little bit more information about how to set it up. Hopefully we'll get that done over the 6 weeks holiday. If not, it'll definitely be done on the first week back. So probably even before, well, definitely before Thursday, the first official day for year 7s, when they can use the canteen at break time and lunchtime. You'll already have the information, and it's really quick to set up anyway. So you should get that information shortly.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer the next 2 questions together. How long is lunch break? And if your child is on a packed lunch and their friends on dinners, can they sit together? So very different to primary school here. We don't tell them where to sit. We just tell them, so they'll either be in the hall or the canteen. And they get 30 minutes for lunch. So if they're dinners, they'll go and line up, get their dinner and go and sit down. If they're packed lunch, they'll go and sit straight down. But yeah, they can sit wherever they want. They can sit in their groups of friends. They have plenty of time. The one thing that we have found is they tend to eat all of their food because they're conscious of time, and then still have a little bit of time to do what they want, rather than dawdling as some kids can do. But sitting together is not a problem. And that 30 minutes will be for, even if we weren't within COVID restrictions, year 7 get lunchtime to themselves. They're the only year group on lunch at their particular time for the whole of year 7, to allow them to have that transition, that familiarity, and getting used to that. And then in year 8 they'll be mixed with another year group for their lunch break.
Any more questions? We're waiting, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't know that we've got any more.
I think we've answered everything, that's why.
I think so. I do hope that is the case, that through all of the information, and I appreciate we've sent you so much information over the last 6 weeks. Thank you very much for the lots of views and shares on Barney's video. He seems to be a very popular...
Did he get more than me?
He did get more than you, I'm afraid, Mr. Simpson.
Wow.
But he is a cute dog. If you haven't watched Barney yet, he is transition video number 10. Go back and have a look. Barney is the school dog from Wilnecote Junior School, and his video is very, very cute. He does a tour around the school if you haven't seen it, and will help you be a bit more familiar with some of the places.
We have had a few more questions just come through very, very quickly. A question about after school clubs. Obviously, I know we're repeating ourselves here, that things are going to look very much different to what it would do come September. Once we do have after school clubs. And one of the reasons why we brought forward the end of our school day, and we brought it forward a couple of years ago by 35 minutes. And one of the reasons why we did that was to encourage after school activities. So we do numerous sports clubs. So we've got your football, netball, hockey. We do athletics. So we've got all of our sports. We mentioned earlier that we have music lessons after school. We have the drama. We have musicals. Every February we have a huge show, which is always been popular at the Wilnecote School and our community. So we do have many after school clubs. Certainly as students get a little bit older, who might want to do a little bit more work on their subjects, we do after school sessions for every subject. So our teachers will stay behind. If a student is just struggling with their homework, they just want somewhere to sit, there's always staff around in classrooms for them to sit down and to catch up with their work. So yes, after school clubs is something that we do, and we encourage all of our students to get involved in.
And I think we do publish a timetable, certainly of the sporting fixtures, of what's on what day, how long it's for. So all of that will come out as and when we know what we're allowed to offer, number of students we're allowed to offer to, that kind of thing. So, will my daughter be held responsible for her own medication whilst in school? It really depends what medication that is. My best response to that would be, if your child is on regular medication, hopefully we already know about that from contact through the primary school and yourselves, and we'll have an individual healthcare plan in place for that child. If you haven't had any contact with anybody, whoever's asked that question, if you could please just either drop us an email at office@, or let us know your name on the YouTube where you've written this in, and we'll contact you individually, because it all depends what kind of medication she's on, and do we need to give her some private place, that kind of thing. We can absolutely help her with it, but we just need to make sure we've got something in place for her. So that will be done on an individual basis.
Okay, next question. I've been put in a different house colour to my sister. Can I stay in the one I've been given? Well, firstly, apologies that you've been put in the wrong house. Sometimes this happens if we don't always get the correct information about siblings, but it's not a major problem. We will leave it up to you. If you want to move, so you're in the same house, we can sort that. If you want to stay where you are, as long as you're happy staying in the house that you've been put into, not a problem. We
have moved. I've had a few of these emails where some children have got different surnames, or for some reason it's not crossed, the box hasn't been ticked on the data. Really easy to move them. You just need to let me know who you are, either again through office@, or if you type it in there. We've got Carl, who is one of our IT guys. He will pull all that information out, give it to me, and I can sort that out after tonight for you. No problem. Not a problem.
We've got one last question. Will parents need to buy football boots in the first week, or can we wait to see what's happening? What I suggest that we do is, we on that first day, on that Wednesday, we'll get all the students together, and we'll do some question and answers before those students go. Absolutely. This is always a question that pops up. By then we'll be able to tell them what sports they will be doing in PE for the first half term, and then that should give you plenty of time. But don't get worrying about if you haven't purchased something yet. Let's get the students in. This is going to be a massive learning curve. The fact that they haven't had a normal transition. For some students, it's the first time they might step foot in the Wilnecote school. So let's get them in, and we'll give you that further guidance in that first week.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on here and for asking questions. I was worried at one point that we would just be sat here talking to nobody. So it's really great that there are lots of you watching, asking questions. We are really, really excited to actually meet your children. I think we've just had one more pop in. Will the school library be open? I don't know that answer right now this minute. It's all to do with government guidance, so we will review the guidance. Students do use the library as part of their English lessons. Once we know what the guidance looks like, it's changed from week over the last few months. So in 6 weeks' time, we might be looking at something very different to what we're looking at now. So rather than me say a definite yes, a definite no, my answer is going to be, we'll let your children know in September once we have the most up-to-date guidance on that one.
But for something to look forward to when the library does open, some of our students will use the library at break and lunch if they feel like they want to just have some away time, and some of our students go in there and use the computers to do some homework. Some students just go in there, sit and read a book. So when that opens, it's a great resource for the school. We've had one last question. It's asking about the house colours. So
it's on the videos.
Yeah, I talk about that on my video.
So
you've got Peel House, which is the yellow colour tie. You've got the red colour ties for McGregor, and green is for Grazier.
Which are the best house. So the one that I am linked to and have been previously the head of house.
That's not true. It's Peel. Peel's the best house.
There's no one here from McGregor to represent them, sorry.
We'll go with Peel then.
It's always Grace, yeah. So, okay, last bit then. We're going to wrap up, let you go and get on with your Thursday evening. It's a little bit warmer. It's not raining for a change, which is wonderful. Again, thank you for all the positive comments on the videos, for the interaction, the calls into school, for engaging with us when we can't actually meet you. We would normally have met all of your children by now at least once, and we would have met you as parents and carers, and we haven't been able to do that. And I don't know when we will get to meet you face to face as parents, but I hope it's sometime before Christmas. So just as a last reminder, your children for year 7 start on Wednesday the 2nd of September. They're to start at 10:30. Please don't arrive at school any earlier than 10:20 because there won't be anybody outside to meet them. So from 10:20, 10:30 would be best, and they need to come in the main school entrance on Tinkers Green Road. Don't come in through the Hockley Road entrance because that's reserved for other year groups. Once we're allowed to release restrictions, that will change. But in the initial September period, please come in through the main school entrance. We will meet them on the first day, and by the end of that first day, they'll be so overwhelmed with information. They'll come home and tell you all about it, and you'll be like, okay, I don't know where to start. And then we'll just pick it up. So that Thursday morning, the following day, they start as normal at 8:30, and for them, it'll be normal lessons from then on. So we look forward to meeting you in September as students. Parents will see you when we can, and I think that's everything from us.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Mrs. just said. This has been fantastic. It's been a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
Certainly out of my comfort zone. But we just hope you have a lovely 6 weeks holiday. Hopefully you can go away, spend some time with your loved ones. Take care. And if you're watching Year 6, we will see you all in September.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.